The Boston Red Sox are calling up Roman Anthony, Christopher Smith, saying that a source told him that is the case. Seeing some rumblings from some other writers as well. Big smile on Jeff's face. What do you have for us, man?
It's just hilarious that we're on air as this happens. It was like we're wrapping up the interview with Brody, one of my favorite pitching prospects in the game, and I'm like looking at my phone, like asking questions, like as Roman Anthony is getting called up. So it looks like this is probably going to be official. I heard Abreu is injured. I don't know. I mean, what else can we say at this point? We've been waiting for this to happen seemingly since before the season even started. Just continues to dominate in AAA, and I don't think that's hyperbole either. One of the best hitters at the level, regardless of age. There's a lot of former major leaguers at that level. 500-foot home run, just showing off the power, doing heroic type of stuff. So just talking to some of the folks within the organization over the last couple of weeks, is I think this has kind of been bubbling and boiling over. They think he's an impact player, and I tend to agree. I think this is a guy that's going to come up and, will be one of the few hitters over the last few years that doesn't have those initial struggles. We'll see. I may have to eat these words, but truthfully, I think the bat to ball skills, the power, the approach, just so outlier, can do a lot of things to the plate that most guys can't.
He's 21 years old, Jeff. And yes, people are excited, as they should be, for the top position player prospect, who also was leading minor league baseball in average exit velocity. So what do you think could hold him back, right? I think a lot of us are expecting him to have a lot of success early on. The on-base percentage that he's putting together down there is also pretty promising. I think the strikeout to walk numbers add up to someone who you would hope would be able to convert right into a major league ball player with a nice plate approach. But again, I'll cap this with what I started it with. He's 21 years old. He's going up to the show. Best pitchers in the world. Minor leagues to major league jump is as wide of a gap as maybe we've ever seen in terms of talent level. What could hold him back?
I think it's, ultimately probably going to be, quality of stuff that he hasn't seen before. I don't worry about the velocity. This is a guy that just murders fastballs. Like that's not a concern of mine. Could the ground ball rate be a little bit high because the angles aren't always perfect? Sure. But I think we see a lot of guys like this. James Wood is like that. Junior Caminero is like that. These guys with super high-end EVs tend to topspin some stuff more often than not, right? But they're also guys that hit the ball so hard sometimes when they mishit it, it turns into production. So I think the concern probably would be like quality breaking balls from left-handers and just different looks that he hasn't seen consistently, even at AAA. But I don't know. I tend to look at a player like this, and I think in the same way that Gunnar Henderson checked all the boxes, in the same way that Julio Rodriguez or Bobby Witt Jr. or these kind of guys, whether it's, just the eye test or the underlying data or the performance, they kind of check all of them. So I would be really shocked if he struggles, but if it happens, it's going to be because he has to make an adjustment just to certain areas that they're going to be pitching him. I've heard left on left breaking balls away, but that seems like such a very specific thing that everyone's going to have to be able to do, and not everyone's left-handed.
Yeah, right. That's not going to be the poison that's going to get him. Oh, those left on left breakers 24/7. But I do remember, I'm looking back to late April when the Red Sox, I don't remember who it was, but someone in the front office was talking about it, maybe Brian Abraham, and that they wanted to see him face more left-handed pitching. Makes sense for most prospects, especially those that are that young, and also that they did want to see him unleash even more of the pull power that he has. Jeff, you follow this team closely. They have a very specific way of developing position players right now that really worked for Christian Campbell for him to turn into a pretty highly rated prospect and a major leaguer. And of course, he's gone through his struggles over the past month, but somebody who I think has exceeded expectations so far. If you told him a couple of years ago where he would be right now, can you describe what that is, how that's working for some of the Red Sox players? Because I think Roman Anthony did go through some revamped swing situations as well, right?
Yeah, I think, there's bits and pieces with all these position players that are sort of coming through the pipeline over the last couple of years that have gone through Sort of this bat speed training, hitting training that they've been doing. It's consistent at all levels. We've talked a little bit in the offseason. I wrote a little bit in the offseason of their use to technology, whether it's the traject machines, to really challenge these guys from the minute they step foot into sort of their major league training camps after being drafted or signing or coming stateside, all the way through at all these different levels. And the off the field work is really intense and really specific and rigid and, focused. And I think that's one of the reasons that we're starting to see so many guys make a significant jump. And it's not just Roman Anthony. We've seen Marcelo Meyer, who was a very gifted prep hitter when he was drafted, somebody that, had a beautiful left-handed swing. Nobody questioned that he would hit. We've seen him add significant impact over the last couple of years. Franklin Arias is, depending on, which site you read or who you talk to, is one of the top prospects in baseball, at least probably a top 100 prospect consistently across the board. Another guy who's, grown by leaps and bounds over the last couple of years. And you look at, a guy like the Password, who's now a top 100 prospect for us, a guy who's really performing in AAA. And you can even look down to somebody like Blaze Jordan, who I think a lot of people wrote off, has had a tremendous season this year, walking more than he's striking out in AA, has made a really successful jump up to AAA, made the hot sheet actually for us this week in his first or second week in AAA. So I think overall, you look at all these guys and you look at what the team is doing, and they've just had a lot of success running out this program and getting the most out of their hitters.
Here's the other part of the equation. The Red Sox are firmly in fourth place in the American League East as they call up Roman Anthony. With the hype that he has been receiving, will he be expected to be a savior for a team that actually has been okay on offense? I mean, I think it's a top 5 offense in runs scored. So it's not like you're going to look at them and be like, man, the Sox, they can't put days together, consistent days together of putting up offense. There's Carlos Collazo, by the way. Power increases your margin for error. Nice when you can still mishit a ball out of the park. Very true. I think that's the case for Jack Aglione as well, who got called up about a week ago by Kansas City. Do you think there's going to be a ton of pressure on him and the youngsters, right? The 3 remaining of the 4. One got traded, Kyle Teal in the Garrett Crochet deal. Nailed that so far. He's a Cy Young contender for the Red Sox. The other 3 are now all up and could be playing every day, at least for now, and Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell, and here comes Roman Anthony. Do you think that's going to be a lot on them to try and turn around Boston's season, even though offense isn't the problem? Defense is a huge problem, actually, and that's been an issue for Campbell for sure.
Yeah, and I mean it's funny because I think I saw a graphic from TJ Stats, does a great job on Twitter with all the stuff that he puts out. Their infield defense is really bad. Their outfield defense has actually been, I think, like exceptionally good, one of the better outfields in the league. So Roman Anthony kind of jumps into that. It doesn't solve the problem that they have in the infield. We'll see, if Meyer obviously can do that when he gets more consistent playing time. I think that's what's been kind of frustrating early on with him, is they kind of haven't given him the reins fully. And Campbell has been up and down at the plate. I think, we're starting to see him adjust a little bit more to the league adjusting to him. The defense, though, still leaves a little bit to be desired at times. The reactions, some of those things aren't great. So I think we're going to see a lot of these guys. I think ultimately this is probably the right play for the Red Sox, and we'll see, what other moves are made over the next 2 months. Because right now, this is not a team that's probably going to compete for a playoff spot, let alone a World Series, et cetera. So I think at this point, it's time to ride the kids, and there's even some more names that could potentially come up, whether it's, just Nixon Garcia, whether it's Blaze Jordan, some of the pitchers we've seen come up already, as well as some of the guys that are in the pipeline. It's kind of an exciting time if you're into the minor leagues for the Red Sox, because this could kind of be the true youth movement breaking point with Anthony coming up.
This is cool. This is really fun in a time period where suddenly some of the biggest names and some of the biggest power names, which usually stands out in our sport, are getting called up at the same time. Roman Anthony is next for Boston.